All right, so over the weekend, had the opportunity to finally go check out the Captain America sequel, Captain America The Winter Soldier. It is a follow up to 2011's Captain America The First Avenger. And I didn't see this movie by Marvel Comics alone. I went with my good pal, the beautiful and the lovely Tammy, who's going to be joining me to share her experience as we actually had ended up seeing the movie together over the weekend. Tammy, how's it going over there at your end?
Oh, not bad, not badly. Thank you very much.
No problem. I always love it when we get to hang out together because it's like, if it's not show related, it's kind of like, I don't know what to describe it as, but it's like,
Yeah, it's kind of hard to connect. Sometimes you get tuned and sometimes you don't.
right. And let's share our experience with the folks, because I know you and me, we definitely didn't quite see eye to eye in the overall takeaway of this movie. Now, of course, as I mentioned, Captain America, The Winter Soldier, it's a follow up to 2011's Captain America, The First Avenger. And Tammy, I definitely want to put you on the spot off the break. In your overall review of the movie, you had said you had enjoyed the first release more than this sequel. Explain to the folks why.
Well, for me, I honestly did enjoy the first one better, just due to the fact that I thought it was more believable. It was more real to me. Not to say that the plot into the Winter Soldier was not real or believable, but I felt it being just a smidge too far fetched. So I personally could not grasp or get into it like I could the first Avenger.
Right. And you know, it may have a lot to do, Tammy, with who's directing it this go round, the screenplay, because for 2011's First Avenger, that was directed by Joe Johnston and it was produced by Kevin Feige. Whereas The Winter Soldier, that movie was actually directed by the Russo brothers, and they're best known for the work that they did on the comedy series Arrested Development, a series which I never have liked. It always rubbed me the wrong way. I thought it was so funny how over the years there were a couple of networks that tried to save it. Fox tried to bring it back a couple of times because they had saw how well it did in the reruns and all that, and they tried to give it some life. Last I heard, I think Arrested Development actually ended up having some type of a new lifespan on Netflix. I don't know how well that had worked out, but to the credit of the Russo brothers, these guys, for a lot of fans, they may be a little bit underground for them because it's kind of like, where the hell did these guys come from? But I tell you what, they did such a phenomenal job with The Winter Soldier. Guys, whether some of you may like it or not that have seen The Winter Soldier, these guys, the brothers, are going to be back for Captain America 3, which is not going to be coming out until 2016. Once again, they will be directors for that movie. But yeah, they're taking the place of Joe Johnston. So maybe it's all due to the fact of who's directing it this go round that kind of has you feeling the way that you're feeling. Another thing that we should point out is who is in charge of the writing this go round, as the screenplay for the first Avenger was by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, whereas this go round it was written by, you guessed it, the same guys. You still got the same guys, but it's the directors that have changed. Kevin Feige now serves as a producer, as he did with the first Avenger. So you kind of got a little bit of consistency there, but really the major changes in the direction. Let's talk about the plot, Tammy, without going too much into details for the folks. Basically, it's kind of following the aftermath of the Avengers. We're not really sure how far along it's been since the Avengers, but we can definitely tell that it's been at least a couple of years, is the vibe that I'm feeling, since the world was threatened. And we find Captain America, basically the main theme that he seems to be having, Tammy, throughout this movie is trust issues, because it turns out, and we won't get into too much details, but it turns out Nick Fury, he was doing some stuff that was somewhat considerably shady that kind of had Captain America go, okay, well, just who the hell can I trust? Because that's actually something that Nick Fury, as portrayed by Samuel L. Jackson, tells Captain America at one point, is don't trust anybody. And so for Cap, he's kind of having a hard time figuring out who to trust. He's having fond memories of his old colleague, Bucky. And as we all know, especially you comic book buffs out there, Bucky is like the longtime friend, partner of Captain America that was basically tragically killed. You all know that this is based off of a comic book story arc by Jack Kirby and all that, legendary Jack Kirby. We gotta make sure we show some love to him there. But that pretty much gets the ball rolling. And Tammy, I know you were pointing out a couple of times as we're kind of like right here in the nation's capital, how, oh, there's the Washington Monument, there's the Smithsonian, nice little spots that they had in there to try to get in DC. I couldn't help but notice they actually managed to pull off a little bit of showing Georgetown, a little bit of Capitol Hill there.
And yeah, they actually really tried to show some love for the D.C. area and surrounding areas, because you actually also see a little bit of Virginia in there too, just outside of D.C. I mean, like, you know, on those little outskirts like Roslyn and, you know, Alexandria.
Right, right. And of course, the $1,000,000 question for you guys that know your movies, you know your actors, especially your legendary actors. We definitely got to talk about who I think was the big wild card in this movie. Let's go talk about maybe pros and cons, or just give our take on the actors for this sequel. Let's start things off with Robert Redford, Tammy. Legendary actor, legendary director. For you younger audience, you may not be hip to Robert Redford. I would definitely encourage you guys to go pull up Netflix after you get done checking out this review and see if you can pull up Indecent Proposal with Woody Harrelson, Demi Moore. What's another one we can recommend to him, Tammy?
The Natural, Brubaker. He has such a vast majority of movies under his belt. The Last Castle, which more recently with James Gandolfini. So many, but
Butch
one
Cassidy.
of my more fond is The Natural, up close and personal. Certainly, you know, the one that you mentioned, Indecent Proposal. It really shows his acting ability and the vast roles that he plays.
And don't forget my personal favorite, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
I love my Westerns now. You know, I wasn't sure what to expect because I have been following off and on the development for Winter Soldier like past couple of years. And I remember like early last year, I had heard that Redford was attached to this movie. His role wasn't known at the time. And you're kind of like, what the heck is going on right here? But then it's like, at the same time, if you're a longtime Robert Redford fan like us, you're kind of going, well, if he's attached to this movie is probably going to be the shit. What's up right here? And then we find out the name of his character is Senator Pierce. And so now you're really trying to find out what's going on right here. Just what type of role is he going to have? Is it going to be a cameo or what? And for me, I'm saying to myself, okay, well, if Robert Redford's in it, it can't be a cameo. We got to stretch this out if he's going to be in it. And sure enough, he had a very key role in this movie as he basically played a higher up in S.h.i.e.L.D. Basically, he was the guy that Nick Fury had answered to. And when you first come across Robert Redford's Senator Pierce character, you're kind of like, oh man, this guy is freaking awesome. You know, he kind of reminded me like, hey, this is where Captain America would be right now. If he aged and all that properly, he would probably have some type of high up position like that. But then, as we learn later on, spoiler alert, you know, Robert Redford's character is a little bit of a badass.
Oh, so right. You know, you were rooting for him in the beginning, and then you're like, oh, it's like that.
Yeah, but I mean, he did such a damn good job because I haven't seen him tap into this heelish type of style. Not really since, for me personally, and you may disagree, but for me personally, when I think about Robert Redford as a villain, first off, for me, and I could be wrong, maybe I don't know my Robert Redford movies like that, but I'm thinking back on all the different type of stuff I've seen him in. I've never seen him play a villain. And I could be wrong. Maybe he did something with Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Maybe he was the villain right there. I don't recall him being a villain. I could have sworn he was a good guy in that one. But for me, it was kind of like a nice breath of fresh air, because for me, it kind of comes off as if the last time we saw him come off doing somewhat questionable or something of a heelish type nature was the arrogant SOB that he played in Indecent Proposal, and he's like, I'll give you $1 million to sleep with your woman.
Right. Well, you know, with Redford, in the movies that I remember him in most, he never played a villain. He might have played somewhat of a shady character, depending on the role, but never truly a villain. And not to give too much away, but in his eyes, in this movie, I think he actually thought he was trying to do good.
A conflicted character Robert Redford played there in Senator Pierce, a very conflicted character. Yeah, you hit it dead on the nail, because he believed what he was doing was for the better of the country, and that basically anybody that wasn't on his side was his enemy.
And exactly, he pretty much that was his line, and if you crossed it, then at that point, then yeah, he was the villain. In his eyes.
Let's talk about Anthony Mackie, who portrayed Sam Wilson / Falcon. Hey, they stuck to the comics here, folks. I know some of you guys have been in a frenzy right now because Chris Evans, as most of us comic book buffs remember, he was the Human Torch for the two Fantastic Four movies that we did see, which really didn't do that well. And I know some people had a hard time believing and picturing him as Captain America / Steve Rogers, but he pulled it off brilliantly. And we'll actually go in depth about him and his return to the Captain America mantle in a little bit. But they stuck to the comic books right here, because I know there was a frenzy amongst folks when they found out that Chris Evans' Human Torch replacement for the next Fantastic Four reboot was going to be a black guy. And that just had people in a frenzy. And we'll actually talk about that another time, because I definitely want to chime my thoughts about that. And Tammy, maybe you can join me in that discussion. But Anthony Mackie, Falcon, the character remained black. Talk about Anthony Mackie as Wilson / Falcon, Tammy.
I actually really enjoyed his character. He did a great portrayal of really that character. I actually, I thought about it because Don Cheadle actually played his, co kind of airman, I guess if you want to call it that, in First Avenger. But Falcon really, or / Sam, really portrayed a great friend. And, you didn't quite know where that was going in the beginning, but he was really right there for him, and definitely his sidekick.
There was that element of Don Cheadle's James Rhodes in there when you think about Mackie's character. I see exactly what you're saying. And for those of you not that familiar with Mackie's work, he's basically been in a few feature films. He's done some Broadway, off-Broadway plays, including Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Drowning Crow, McReilly, A Soldier's Play. He was nominated for an Independent Spirit Award for Best Actor in his role in Brother to Brother, and he had received a second nomination for Best Supporting Actor at the 2009 Independent Spirit Awards for his role in The Hurt Locker. And to his credit, some of the films that he has been in: 8 Mile, he played Papa Doc, you guys may recall that, Hollywood Homicide, Sucker Free City. He was in $1 Million Baby. There's a movie that should...
I don't remember him in $1 Million Baby.
We're going to have to pull that up now.
Pull that up.
Yeah, yeah. I know that probably now that we've said that movie, that's probably like, whoa, that's a Clint Eastwood. He was in that. Yeah, he was in that one. Yeah. So you guys definitely want to make that be your business and check that out. He was also in 2008's Eagle Eye. You guys should definitely recall that one. But yeah, I thought he did phenomenally well because I remember for me growing up, not to get sidetracked, but it does relate to talking about Captain America. When I was a kid, Tammy, one of the cool things that I would do, like around, I think it started at the age of 5. Like, I would just be collecting comic books. My mom got me hipped onto it. And one of my favorite pastimes would be to get that late night wake up from my mom at like about 2 in the morning. And she's like, I need to go get some cigarettes. Do you want to tag along? And the only time she would say this to me is when she knew I didn't have to go to school the next day. So typically it would be like a Friday night going into Saturday. And she'd be like, you want to go with me and go get some smokes? And that was kind of her way of saying you want some, you want some,
Quality time.
yeah, some bonding time. And I would always jump at the opportunity because I knew if I went with her, I would be going to my favorite place. And back then, it was open 24/7, 7-Eleven. And
Always open 24/7.
well, surprisingly, there's actually some 7-Elevens that aren't open 24/7, believe it or not.
Okay.
I thought
I've never come across one, but okay.
I have. It's very weird. True. It's very true. But I knew that if I said yes, we'd go to 7-Eleven and I would get a couple of comic books. I'd usually walk away with about 3, maybe 4, and one of the comic books I would always try to look for was the newest issue of Captain America. And back then, you're talking about the 80s, by the way. Back then, Captain America would be teaming up with Falcon a few times, and you guys probably remember his costume. He had red wings. It was basically a red white attire, and he kind of had a little afro box top thing going on and all that. And I used to love picking up those issues of Captain America where he teamed up with Falcon because I thought the combination of them, I thought they were a really great team. I was a little bit familiar with Bucky, but I really felt that his chemistry with Falcon was just wow. It kind of made me go, man, I wish I was teaming up with Captain America because Falcon's got it made. And the best part, he flies. So it's like whenever Captain America needs some help, he's like, got him, because some people would say with all that super serum that Captain America has and all the abilities that he's able to do, he's like almost a god. But then when you throw the Falcon in there and he's got wings, and you have him combined with Captain America trying to help out the super soldier, it's like, well, God, Captain America is one step closer to God there. So I always had a great love and appreciation for the Falcon character. He was actually one of the first African American superheroes that I came across courtesy of Captain America before the Luke Cages, the Blades, and all that. And for me, I thought they really hit a home run with their portrayal of the Falcon. I love that they got away from that whole red, white superhero uniform. And instead, they try to go with a whole military approach. Not to give away spoilers, but if you've been seeing a lot of these Marvel movies, they're kind of going in that military, scientific, oh yes, this could actually happen in real life type of scenario. And I love the way they had executed Falcon and the origins of him with how he got the wings and all that, as basically it was part of a government project.
They did a great job in explaining everything.
Yeah, they did. Talk about Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes, Winter Soldier. This was a guy that we did see in the first Avenger. Somewhat had a little bit of a dominant role. I definitely remember feeling kind of teary-eyed when it looked as though he died, and apparently he didn't. Talk about that.
Well, honestly, I was quite shocked. Because as you sort of alluded to, and that's somewhat of a spoiler alert for you guys, it's kind of one and the same. So they did, to a point, something very similar to what they did to Captain America with Winter Soldier, a.k.a. Bucky Barnes. So there was some moments in there where it was kind of touching, especially because if you're following that storyline, you know that Bucky Barnes is basically best buds to Captain America, and thus he needs to confront his fears about having to go against the Winter Soldier and all that entails.
Really stays true to the comic books, I feel, and I'm using my previous comic book experience. They really did a good job in telling that story between Captain America, Bucky. Bucky's now the Winter Soldier. They hit a home run with that in my eyes. I don't really think we need to spend that many more minutes on it. You guys that know your comic books and all that, and you're wondering how they portrayed it, it was on point. They did a hell of a job. Winter Soldier, though, man, I want that arm that he has. That arm, my God, that arm looks badass, man. I'm telling you. The beautiful and the lovely Scarlett Johansson returning as the Black Widow. Tammy, we've seen her in the Iron Man movies. We saw her do her thing in Avengers. We see her in this movie, this go round. It kind of seems like she got a lot more camera time, really kind of hinting to those rumors that's going around right now that we could end up seeing Scarlett Johansson in a Black Widow movie where it's just all about her. And honestly, I think for Marvel, if I'm Marvel Studios, I'm going to be paying very close attention to that movie that's going to be popping up later this year, I think late summer, where she plays, basically it looked like a souped up version of Keanu Reeves' Neo in the Matrix trilogy. She's going to play a character called Lucky, and apparently the movie is called Lucky. If I'm Marvel Studios, I'm going to be paying very close attention to that to see how it does in the box office, because if that does supremely well, she may have a she may have a Black Widow trilogy on her hands.
Yeah, no doubt. And actually, there actually was a subtle hint in that movie to actually be able to look at the Black Widow trilogy. Something she said in the movie would somewhat make you think that that's not entirely impossible for that to come into fruition.
It's going to be, and we should note that that movie with her Lucky, that's not Marvel Studios related. I didn't catch the studio that's going to be handling that movie, but I want you guys to peep that out. I know there's many of you guys out there, you love Scarlett Johansson. I'm like guilty as pleasure. I'm a #1 fan of Scarlett Johansson. I've been a fan of her work. And see, Tammy, I go way back. I've been a fan of her work since Girl with the Pearl Earring. And that's basically one of those Shakespearean type of movies. If you guys don't know anything about that, do some research, look it up. Maybe you can get it on Redbox. Maybe it's on Netflix. I'm not sure. But that's where I really first came across her work, and I've been a fan of hers ever since, and she's just been doing a phenomenal job. But yeah, they definitely put some subtle hints in there that she could be going off to do her own journey as a solo act. Again, you'll want to pay attention to that Lucky movie very carefully to see how she does in the box office numbers. But hey, no complaints with her returning as Black Widow. Loved it. Who's left? I guess the main person. Oh, we got two more left actually. Talk about I guess that now brings us to Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury. What's to say there?
You know, what is to say about Samuel Jackson? He is one of, the most talented actors, in Hollywood, and does a great job as Nicholas J. Fury in any of the movies that he plays. But he did a really, really phenomenal job in one scene that stood out to me, and I won't, say, but it's when you see it, you're going to be saying to yourself, wow. But for me, there was one particular scene in the movie where it was just him in that scene and sort of basically, against all odds.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Go, wow.
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it. I know the scene you're talking about. That scene that had me go, I got to get one of those, right?
That's the one.
Yeah, that was a badass scene right there. I'll match that. I like that scene. And for me, it was seeing him do a verbal back and forth with Robert Redford. That for me was a total mark out moment because it was like, hey, you got these two guys colliding. Okay, this should be interesting. And their chemistry just worked very well together.
It did. It did. It really did. And you could, two actors certainly at their best.
Mm-hmm. For some reason, every time I think of Samuel L. Jackson now, like whatever movie role I see him in or whatever, my mind is like now tainted with the discovered blue card. And he's like, what's in your wallet? It's, it's like, cause I know they paid him a boatload of money to do that freaking commercial. Cause he's got to be like one of the highest grossing guys that's out there. I think he wants like anywhere from 1 million to 3 million a flick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he is freaking...
because he can command that kind of payday.
Yeah, he is something else. All right, so that leaves us one actor. It's the return of Chris Evans as Steve Rogers, Captain America. This was basically a follow-up to when we saw him last, which was in the Avengers. We were just in awe with him, but then we kind of got to go back to the Avengers, first Avenger movie. I don't know, for me, I just really kind of enjoyed his journey in this movie. It was kind of nice to hear how he was adapting to this new time era, I guess you want to call it, that he was in. And I thought it was kind of nice how he's been jotting down certain things to try to get caught up to speed on what all he's missed over the years. But it was kind of a nice personal journey to see him continue to try to get settled into the new world as he's like, what? How old now? 99 or 96 years old? 95 years old. He looked freaking awesome physique-wise. Chris Evans, to me, I don't know how he looked to you, Tammy, but he didn't seem as bulked up as he was in the last movie.
He wasn't. He was still pretty, pretty cut. But I don't think he was as bulked up, as you say, as he was in First Avenger. But still very fit, and his portrayal of Captain America, when you find that person that's just right for that role,
mm-hmm.
and he is so just right for that role. Honestly, for me, it's kind of like, okay, so Chris Evans is definitely Captain America,
mm-hmm.
as Robert Downey Jr. is to Iron Man. It's just fit. I mean, like a glove. They totally embody as an actor and just portray that character. It's like they get it.
Right.
And you could totally see that you could almost see them as that character. And, without anything else. So, yes, in my opinion, he did a phenomenal job, just as well as the first one. He did just as equally well in, The Winter Soldier.
I think he succeeded, the first Avenger and Avengers, just from the fighting sequences alone. I know they probably had a couple of doubles in there, but for the many times that we were able to see him do his thing, I mean, my God, you guys are going to see so many fight scenes with Captain America that just has you go, damn. And it's like literally they're ripping stuff out of the comics. I know how many of you guys love to play your Marvel Ultimate Alliance games and all that. Captain America and the Avengers. I wish I was playing the arcade machine of that right now, because I would so be spamming the hell out of that shield. But the fighting sequences in this movie with Captain America is just on point. The CGI, by the way, we definitely got to make sure we show it some love. They really had cranked it up.
We saw it in actually IMAX 3D.
Yeah.
So it was quite impressive.
Yeah, definitely impressive. We got to make sure we stress that too. If you're going to see the movie, you want to make sure you see it in that 3D experience. It's all point. Tammy, do we have any concern about the box office intake? I only ask because you go back 2011, the first Avenger was on a $140 million budget, and they were able to bring in $370,569,774. Yeah, they were bringing buku's fettuccinis, as I like to say, but they brought in just if my math is correct here, they brought in like over 370 million. Are we a little bit
for the first one?
For the first one, right? Overall,
for the second one, it actually opened up on Thursday. Maybe in select cities, but I think it was actually everywhere. But it actually on its opening day did 10 million.
Okay.
And I think the budget for the sequel was actually was 170 million.
That's right.
This one as well. And the box office now, as we speak, it was at like 136 million as of we speak now. So it might even grow even more because the numbers that you're giving, it's from probably not opening weekend, it's probably to date.
Okay.
Yeah. So with that, we don't know. It just depends on the competition, on what's coming out in the next couple weeks, as to how well it will do. I mean, we know we have hardcore Marvel fans who flock when anything comes out.
Right.
So that will definitely hype up the. It'll definitely break even for sure. It's really close now, so I have a feeling that it'll do just as well as the first Avenger. I really do.
My fingers are crossed. I mean, one thing is for certain. It's safe to say that it's definitely going to secure number one for this weekend. And I think it's going to secure number one for a couple of weeks. But it's spring. They fired off the first shot as far as comic book movies go. And Marvel Studios, they are off to a big bang with this sequel. I'm already pumped for Captain America 3. I look forward to it. And I can't stress this enough to you guys that end up going to see this movie. Wait until the damn credits are over. Don't you guys that have seen these Marvel movies know enough to know that you gotta sit through the credits because they're gonna hit you up with some Easter eggs if you sit through it. And Tammy, I thought it was so hilarious because originally we were trying to see a 10:45 a.m. movie, but I guess everybody and their mother kind of had the same idea that we had, which was, oh, we'll see the first showing and then you have the rest of the day to yourself. You can go do whatever. So everybody was trying to get in on that 10:45. So we actually ended up seeing an 11 a.m. movie at one of my most favorite movie theaters in the Gaithersburg, Maryland area. I can't stress it enough. Down at the Rio. Great eatery places, great shopping areas. They got a nice overview of a lake where when the weather is on point, you can hop on a boat, take a little ride or whatever. Great stuff, great activities, great music, great place to be if you're in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, you're up around the Gaithersburg area, go to that spot. But
it's a great spot for hangout. Actually, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, a little bit of everything, right. And we ended up seeing an 11 a.m. flick, and there was hardly anybody in it. But I was amazed when the credits, and I'm always amazed at this when it comes to the Marvel movies, because it's like as many times as I've seen a Marvel movie by myself, or Tammy, you happen to be with me, or what have you, nobody stays through the credits.
Well, we did on the today's the audience that was with us today. I would say about half of the theater actually stayed because it was pretty light in the theater at that point because of the 10:45 showing. But I would say about half of them stayed throughout the whole credits, and just to see that Easter egg. But yes, there were a few that ended up just saying, "Okay, movie's over."
Right.
I guess they haven't got the memo.
They haven't got the memo because I don't want to give it away here now because I don't want to tell you how many Easter eggs are in this one, but you want to stay through the credits. Now, I will say this, the first time we got an Easter egg, I'm saying to myself, okay, that's not enough. Give me some more. And you and me, we continued to sit there while everybody else, they're like, okay, well, the movie's over. It's like, no. You got to stay until the projector guy says, okay, that's it.
And the cleanup crews come in and start
Right.
sweeping under your feet.
Right, exactly. That's when you know it's over and you've definitely seen all the Easter eggs. But they fired off a really big shot. And Tammy, talk about the 10 minutes that we were sitting through until Captain America came on of trailers for all the different Marvel movies that's going to be coming up. I mean, my God, we got the X-Men. God, I can't think of the name of the movie right now. The Days of the Future Past. We have that coming up. That looks like it's gonna be freaking phenomenal. We have the Amazing Spider-Man 2. That looks like it's gonna do supremely well. Can't wait to see that in 3D. We have Guardians of the Galaxy, which I must admit, it really didn't kind of grab me.
Yeah, it didn't wow me.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy didn't wow me at all. The cutest part about that was that little raccoon.
Right.
But honestly, it wouldn't wow me enough to go see it in theaters now.
Right, and keep in mind, WWE superstar Dave Bautista is in this movie, and I'm sorry, it's just not quite enough to make me go, oh, I gotta go see this. What other comic book movies did they show? Was that pretty much it?
That pretty much was it.
That pretty much was it. Marvel's off to a good start, man. I think they're going to be pulling in a lot of fettuccinis this year.
Yeah, it's really been really past couple of 2-3 years. They've really been banking with their Marvel movies for the spring and summer. Just with Captain America and Thor and the Avengers and Spider-Man's and and they just continue to develop and evolve their movies to keep the fans coming back over and over and over again.
And they've got no competition right now. That's the other thing that we should note. They have no competition this year. There's nothing from DC Comics. DC's got nothing this year. We were supposed to get Man of Steel, but they went on ahead and delayed it until next year. But we were supposed to get the Man of Steel sequel this year, but now that you take that off the table, Marvel Comics, they've got free reign right now. It's like...
Yeah, that's a really good point. Really good point. They do have free reign.
Yeah. Now, next year should be interesting, because I'm very curious to see who's going to be going head-to-head with Man of Steel over the battle of best comic book hero movie, but... this year, Marvel's just racking up all the dollars. It should be interesting to see which one of their Marvel movies is going to be coming out on top. But overall, Tammy, talk about Captain America, The Winter Soldier, pass, fail, overall rating.
Definitely a pass. Definitely a pass, as in, definitely a go see. If you are a Captain America fan, absolutely. I would say overall, it was very good. I mean, it's definitely equal to the first one. I mean, just in my personal opinion, I personally really liked the first Avenger because of the humanity in the story. The second one was great because, especially if you're, in the DC area or you're a fan of the nation's capital, it's great to see those landmarks on the big screen. And you kind of makes you wonder, darn, I wish I was, there when they were filming at least one of these scenes. But overall rating, I would give it definitely 8.5.
8.5.
Yeah, overall rating, I would definitely give it an 8.5 just for, the star power that they had, and the scenes and the actors. The actors, all of them did phenomenal in their characters.
I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. I agree with some of the movie critics that jumped out there and said, man, this movie is on point. This movie is better than the Avengers. I don't really know if I'd be willing to jump that far, but it's definitely equal to the Avengers. I enjoyed the journey overall with the characters in this sequel more than the first one. And I definitely have to say, it's a strong pass. I would give this movie a 9 out of 10. If there was any areas that I had concerns with, it would just be, I wanted some more. I mean, that's basically it. I wanted some more. I know it was, what, 2 hours and 15 minutes or whatever. I wish I could have gotten a little bit more. Give me about 30 more minutes. I would have been happy, but hey, overall, definitely a pass. I would highly recommend that for those of you that did not get an opportunity to go see this movie, go check it out. This is how good the movie will make you feel when you get out of there. If you're a gamer, you're going to want to pick up any video game you can that's got Captain America on it. Or you may do like me. As soon as the movie was over, go to Target, try to find yourself a nice, cool looking Captain America t-shirt. Wasn't able to find it. Instead, I got another Avengers t-shirt, which you guys will be seeing me sport in a couple of weeks on the live web shows on YouTube. But that's how good the movie is. It's going to make you want to go buy something Captain America related. It's that on point. And for those of you that might be a little bit curious when we're going to be seeing Captain America again, I can definitely tell you at this point, the way things are looking, we will not see Captain America again until Avengers 2, Age of Ultron. So just a little heads up for you guys right there. But yeah, folks, that is pretty much going to do it. Hey, did you see the movie? We'd love to hear your overall thoughts on it. Was it good? Was it bad? Could it have been better? Give us your overall takeaway. You can interact with us. Let us know your thoughts on the movie by hitting us up on Twitter at the RCWR Show. Also hit us up on Facebook at Infinity One Productions. You can send us a private message on YouTube. Look us up at youtube.com/the RCWR Show. And special shout out to our YouTube subscribers, as this will be available on our YouTube channel. So definitely go out of your way to post those comments down below. Got to make sure I get that little plug in there for our YouTube audience. And we'll definitely gather up what you all have to say on a future weekend edition of the RCWR Show. We'll recap all of you all's review and thoughts in general on Captain America. But once again, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, gets a pass from us. All right.